going, okay, this is prophecy, this is New Age, this is aliens, this is, you know, try to get some kind of organizational order going. But yeah, you know, the New Age stuff, I mean, that's just something that never goes away. I wrote that stuff 12 years ago, and all I had to do was say it was already here, because back then it was coming. And it was things that the church was already starting to experience 12 years ago, and now we're just so knee-deep in it, the church never even talks about it anymore, because they're so knee-deep in the doctrines, they've accepted them. And so they don't realize much of a difference between church doctrine and the New Age. It's becoming one and the same.
Very much so.
You know, I don't know if you pay attention to Robert Schuller. He's one of the worst.
I just can't bring myself to watch the programs.
Yeah. Schuller's and the Hinds and the Copelands and the whole charismatic thing, and they're the beast prophets. They're the ones I've been warning about. And they've deceived millions already, and they're going to keep on deceiving. I mean, the only thing we can do is try to wake a handful of people up to get them out of there. Yeah, because obviously they're not all going to. I mean, the sign of the end of the age, which this all started with that one article. The sign of the end of the age, that was the first one I put up, and then after that I just got buried in articles and started putting them up left and right this week. It's because the biggest sign of the end of the age, and they warned us, was that people would start rejecting the cross. And so that's the biggest sign of apostasy, besides, you know, earthquakes and famines and pestilences and wars. They warned 3 times about the coming apostasies. And Peter and John both warned that people, the church itself, would start rejecting the cross. And they weren't talking about people that didn't believe in the cross to begin with. Talking about people inside the churches rejecting the cross. And so you can see that as this is coming out now, with the rise of Islamic teachings and the New Age, both just drowning out any kind of a message of the cross out of the churches today.
I've even heard of some churches actually taking the cross off the steeple.
Yeah. Well, you know, someone had told me a long time ago that the steeples were actually an upside-down witch's hat. And, you know, and people want to gripe about my Hell's Bells intros. And here we've got witches' hats for steeples on churches. I mean, you know, and I've heard from others that they're the phallic symbols of the obelisk. You know, and there is really no scriptural anything about having church steeples.
Yeah.
Or all these, you know, these big entertainment centers called churches today. Bowling alleys, movie theaters, McDonald's. I'll pay by debit card now. Hey, you can make an offering by debit card.
Oh, my.
The church in Georgia where you could get chipped, so it was automatic. They could you scan your hand and make your tithe for the week. You know, when does anybody ever get the idea to run from these places?
With that gentleman that just called in?
Yeah.
With Passover coming up, most Orthodox Jews have something that they do in the weeks leading up to Passover, where they get rid of all the leaven in their house, but they also go through and they seek anything that may be offensive to God and get rid of it. I suppose we should do that every day and every week, but they do it intensively at that time of year.
Yeah. Well, things you bring into your house can have curses attached to them.
I imagine if that gentleman would go through the objects in his house, he'd be astonished at what he would find. It
yeah,
could be
that's a good point.
A tape, a DVD, a book, a statue, a gift from someone. And when you try to look at things in your own environment the way that you believe God would look at them, you can find all sorts of things to just throw out.
Well, there's a lot of things coming from the third world countries that are cursed and have spirits attached to them. I remember when those trolls, those keychains, were big. A lot of these trolls and the Smurf stuff and everything, all those things were cursed images.
We've stopped going into restaurants that have the Buddhas and other statues as part of their decoration, or
No.
just...
I don't think I've ever, well, you know, I'm not much of a person going out of the house, but...
It's amazing what's out there now in the stores and the restaurants, things that you wouldn't see 5 or 10 years ago.
Huh. That doesn't amaze me, because we're going to have these little beast images everywhere. You know, these little statues of the beast that people are going to be forced to worship. And, you know, Satan doesn't want to close down the church. He just wants to undermine the faith of everybody in them and then replace the altars with his own image.
Or you'll go to Christians' homes, and they'll have one of those likenesses or statues of Kokopelli, that Indian preacher that appears to be playing something like a clarinet. But that's witchcraft too.
Well, those ones with Mary have always made me just feel queasy. I just can't even get near that stuff.
Yeah.
You drive by the Catholic churches or homes, people's homes, and they have those statues of Mary. And any type of statues or anything.
Oh, absolutely.
I can deal with Ronald McDonald. he doesn't turn my stomach, but this stuff's going to get rampant. They've already started in Canada, where they've started putting so many different things out on buildings, symbols and statues, and I've seen pictures of symbols that they're just outright painting on buildings.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been saying that anything in Canada comes down here next. They're just like loading that place up with all this New World Order garb, and then it's going to trickle down to America.
It sure is.
So I usually just talk to the Canadians and find out what's going on. And, it seems like everything is unraveling here for the Bush administration. I mean, so many scandals. And you got to wonder why they're releasing a lot of this information, because that they own the press, they own the information, they control the information that comes out and what doesn't.
Mm-hmm.
And so when they allow information to come out that makes him look bad, then you got to wonder what card they're going to jump to play.
Mm-hmm.
Because it almost looks like, with the whole Gannon scandal, and the one, I don't know if you were reading online this week about the scientist, astrophysicist who just got out of jail for the past 30 years. He's been there. They were trying to keep him quiet because he had been an engineer working on the fake Apollo missions to make them look real on TV.
I think that whole thing is going to come out. Yes.
Yeah, the whole moon landing was fake.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of things are unraveling, and it doesn't look good for the New World Order crowd running the government right now. And so you got to wonder where things are shifting to. Are they going to go ahead and let him take the heat and Cheney? Because we know that the Omegans, what they want to do is hold the warmongers accountable for their wars and their crimes, and of course that would be the Afghanistan and the Iraq and everywhere else we're at. We're in over 100 different countries right now, bullying over, replacing democracies and putting in socialisms. We say we do one thing, but we do another.
Mm-hmm.
We put in dictatorships so we can control these countries, and of course it's all for the New World Order agenda because it has to be a one world government. And so they've been talking about, and I've seen in the Bible codes about bringing them to trial when the Omegans take over, and bringing Cheney and Bush to trial.
Mm-hmm.
And so that would get rid of, that whole crowd right there. You could kiss that whole route goodbye, because there's several roads to take to get Lucifer to power as the Antichrist.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, so it's interesting to watch, because they'll betray each other in a heartbeat. They all may be in one big brotherhood because they all worship Satan. But there's factions, and they hate each other, and they fight all the time, and they don't trust each other, and they'll stab each other in the back. And you got all these different factions fighting to see who's going to be the faction in control to bring Lucifer to power.
Just like with gangsters.
Yeah, no honor among thieves.
Yes, indeed. Well, I see we're coming up on 8:30, and I know you have a special guest getting ready to call in.
Yeah, Constance is calling in. I'm looking forward to this.
Well, may God bless you and your wonderful program here, and we're looking forward to hearing your guest.
All right, well, thanks for calling in, John.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
We're going to take a 30-second break, folks. When we come back, Constance Cumbey will be calling in. We'll see you then in about 30 seconds.
This is the Reality Radio Network on Telstar 5 Transponder 5 and on the internet at realityradionetwork.com.
Do you know where the 78 potentially active volcanoes in the U.S. are located? And do you know the locations of the top 300 prime terrorist targets? You can find these answers and more in the new interactive CD book, Prudent Places USA. With the more than 50 interactive parameters, you can pinpoint natural and man-made disaster areas, brewing environmental catastrophes, the safest cities, the best places for solar and wind energy, and much, much more. Complete with 3 gigabytes of detailed information on each of 3,000 plus counties in the U.S., including 550 high-resolution full-color maps and full-color photographs, as well as detailed information and analysis to help you zero in on the